In southern Kherson, Russian guardsmen stood with a ballot box in the middle of the city to collect people's votes. The door-to-door voting is for security, Russian state media says. In-person voting will take place exclusively on the 27th of September, TASS reported. On the other days, voting will be organized in communities and in a door-to-door manner. One woman in Melitopol told the BBC that two local collaborators arrived with two Russian soldiers at her parents' flat to give them a ballot to sign. "My dad put no to joining Russia," the woman said. "My mum stood nearby and asked what would happen for putting no. They said nothing. Mum is now worried that the Russians will persecute them." The woman also said there was one ballot for the entire household, rather than per person. Although the evidence is anecdotal, the presence of armed men conducting the vote contradicts Moscow's insistence that this is a free or fair process. Experts say the self-styled referendums, taking place across 5 days, will allow Russia to claim, illegally, 4 occupied or partially occupied regions of Ukraine as their own. In other words, a false vote on annexation, 7 months into Russia's invasion. The annexation would not be recognized internationally, but could lead to Russia claiming that its territory is under attack from Western weapons supplied to Ukraine, which could escalate the war further. U.S. President Joe Biden described the referendums as a sham, saying they were a false pretext to try to annex parts of Ukraine by force in violation of international law. The United States will never recognize Ukrainian territory as anything other than part of Ukraine, he said. British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly said the UK had evidence that Russian officials had already set targets for invented voter turnouts and approval rates for these sham referenda. Mr. Cleverly said Russia planned to formalize the annexation of the 4 regions, Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, by the end of the month. A source in Kherson told the BBC there was no public effort to encourage voting, apart from an announcement on the Russian news agency that people can vote at a port building, which had been disused for 10 years. Another woman in Kherson said she saw armed militants outside the building where the vote seemed to be taking place. She pretended to forget her passport, so she didn't have to vote. The woman said all her friends and family were against the referendum. "We don't know how our life will be after this referendum," she said. "It is very difficult to understand what they want to do." Kyiv says the referendums will change nothing, and its forces will continue to push to liberate all of the territories.